Vikemon ACE is one of the cards that I am most looking forward to in BT16. In fact, it's one of about 3 that I am extremely excited about. Why? Well, it's because these cards have the ability to bring new and interesting dimensions to decks that have otherwise been languishing for a very long time. But before we can check out this week's deck, let's consider this week's card. Vikemon ACE is, in a few words, the model of a generic boss monster. It's a dual color, has 2 Digimon referenced in its alternative evolution conditions, and mixes some of the best attributes of its respective colors into its effects. Being an ace, it comes with all the usual bonuses and drawbacks as well, specifically a cheap play cost, blast evolution, and overflow. It also has 2 excellent effects. The first triggers when digivolving or on play, allowing you to de-digivolve one of the opponent's Digimon by 2 levels, and then you prevent all of their Digimon with 1 or fewer Digivolution cards from suspending until the end of their turn. The second effect triggers when attacking, and it simply allows you to delete an enemy Digimon with 1 or fewer Digivolution sources. So we get Black's patented de-Digivolution, Blue's new take on freezing, and the ability to pop short stacks. And none of those skills require specific traits, mandatory sources in the stack, or a specific tamer in play. The removal in particular is so good because it allows this card to function equally well in Black de-Digivolution strategies and Blue source strip strategies, because, well, both tend to reduce Digimon to single card stacks. And of course, it goes without saying that this card is a menace to other Ace Digimon, allowing you to easily trigger their overflow by shrinking them or punishing a hard slammed card. Now, if you want to play this card as quote-unquote intended, your evolution targets are actually pretty limited. The only playable Zudomon to digivolve from is an Ace itself, and I don't know about you, but the thought of Overflow 7 keeps me up at night. On Shakumon's side, things are a little better with 2 playable cards. The former doesn't really synergize with what you're trying to accomplish, but it's more accessible in blue decks, and the latter doesn't do much to support your specific forms of removal or board control, but it does make Vikemon ACE immune to Digimon effects for a turn, which is premium protection for a card with overflow. It also gives you partition, allowing you to potentially float into 2 smaller bodies when you go boom. Realistically though, this card is going to spend most of its time as a splashable 1-2 of tech in the manner of something like Mega Gargomon ACE. Good to have, but not exactly your main game plan. Now, all of that said, I think there is one deck where Vikemon ACE is not only at home, but could reasonably thrive as its boss monster. Which deck exactly? Well, I'll give you a hint. It plays an obnoxious number of security triggers and floats more than most purple decks could ever dream of doing. If you hadn't guessed already, and if the thumbnail didn't give it away, the deck in question is DarkKnightmon. DarkKnightmon is one of my favorite decks, allowing you to constantly combine your little army of Twilight goons into all shapes and sizes, and then split them apart again when they go boom. As far as decks go, DarkKnightmon has some of the best grind game out there, thanks to cards like BT10 DarkKnightmon, EX4 Nene and Kiriha, and the new promo Skull Knightmon. Oh, and did I mention that BT10 Nene turns basically all of your Knightmon army into blockers? Now, what makes DarkKnightmon a perfect fit for Vikemon ACE, and any future Black Aces, is how readily you can maintain a stream of materials for blast evolution. BT7 and BT10 DarkKnightmon both float into a level 4 material on deletion, and DarkKnigtmon X floats into DarkKnightmon on deletion. Both BT10 and EX4 DarkKnightmon can also digicross, allowing you to get stacks into play for relatively cheap. Add in cards like Promo Dorumon, Pride Memory Boost, and Immortal Ruler, and you can keep up the onslaught all day. Vikemon complements the DarkKnightmon archetype very well because it allows their very limited deletion effects to reach a little further, while also giving you the ability to outright delete big bodies, which is something the deck really struggles with. And of course, the ability to blast Digivolve gives the deck some much needed speed, compared to the rather slow and painful process of trying to get a DarkKnightmon X into play. There is a drawback, of course, which is that once you transform any DarkKnightmon into a Vikemon ACE, you lose the ability to float. This is a significant trade-off, and that's not to mention the overflow penalty as well. But you know, this is why I like Vikemon ACE in the DarkKnightmon deck. DarkKnightmon can usually win games on his own, and it's only in very dire situations when you even need a level 6 to take things across the line. So Vikemon ACE is basically there to save the day or break the opponent's back. And you know what? Those opportunities come up a lot more often than you might think. So, with a good idea of how Vikemon ACE can work alongside DarkKnightmon, let's take a quick look at how you can build the deck to maximize their synergy. To begin with, our new boss monster probably isn't a 4-of, since it's not mandatory to finish many of your games. And in fact, this is why I decided not to cut DarkKnightmon X entirely, allowing you to better tailor your lines to your game state. And of course, floating into a level 5 material for Vikemon ACE makes the classic boss monster a solid pick regardless. BT10 DarkKnightmon is your main piece, of course, since it packs removal alongside its de-digivolution effect, floats into a body, and does not burn through your deck like its EX4 brother. The one of BT7 DarkKnightmon is here to give you the flexibility to drop a big body when you happen to be short on Digicross materials in hand. And it can float into 2 pieces on deletion, which can be very threatening in the late game. Security Chikurimon is practically a staple in this deck at this point. It's an honorary Twilight card, honestly, allowing you to shrink stacks ahead of your big DarkKnightmon plays, and if nothing else, it's a free chip and search for something alongside the Pagumon egg. Speaking of security Digimon, Promo Dorumon is your favorite security trigger, letting you play a 4-cost or less black Digimon from the top of your deck when checked, and adding the card if it can't be played. But, you know, we obviously have a lot of targets in the deck to play out. Another security Digimon that is particularly filthy and spicy is ST17 Magnamon. When checked, it de-digivolves anything by 1 level, and then one of your level 3s can digivolve into it. And when you do digivolve, you strip the top source of the opponent's Digimon for each color in its sources. And then you bounce a sourceless Digimon to the hand. Simply put, this card is ridiculous. It has Armor Purge, Inherent Blocker, and gives you access to an additional form of removal, while also setting up enemy stacks for a crushing combo alongside BT10 DarkKnightmon by removing their higher level sources. And sure, it is a little pricey at 4 to manually digivolve into, but you don't really care in a deck like this, most of the time. One more tech worth mentioning here is BT14 Joe Keto, who I use as a nice warm-up to the DarkKnightmon play, the BT10 one specifically. Joe snipes any source on play, essentially reduces his own cost by 1, and leaves stacks vulnerable to getting popped or further shrunk as needed. He also enables you to get the restand off of Wave of Reliability, which is itself a great piece of setup for that BT10 DarkKnightmon play. Overall, I feel like DarkKnightmon as a deck benefits so much from the Ace mechanic in general, and when it's paired with excellent removal like this, you can definitely start to hang with some of the absolute monsters awaiting in BT16. Vikemon ACE is the first in a long line of cards that are going to shake up the game. I am absolutely convinced of that at this point. And you know, DarkKnightmon is just one of the many decks that can abuse this particular Ace card. But of course, you know, we talk about D-Brigade too much on this channel already, so decided to spare you guys this time around. But anyway, I hope today's video at least gets the brain juices going and will get you to take another look at the full batch of Ace cards that are arriving in about a month's time. And of course, you know, get back here soon because there are at least 2 more Ace cards that I very desperately want to cover.